But that's a lot of times what happens in our relationships is when we don't manage our stress, then it brings out the worst in us, and it causes us to alienate those closest to us. And the people who are really designed to help us maybe work through some of that are the people that we are called to love the most, and it pushes them away more. Everyone, and welcome to another episode of Marriage Matters. This is a podcast where we talk about marriage matters because marriage matters, right? So if you're watching for the very first time, my name is Glenn Coleman, and I'm joined as always. I'm also always joined by
Tanya Coleman.
Yeah, this is my beautiful wife, Tanya Coleman.
Hello.
And how you doing today, Miss Tanya Coleman?
I'm doing pretty good.
Pretty good. Okay.
A little tired today, but I'm good.
Yeah. It's been a pretty crazy week. It was one of those weeks where it's like you looked up and it was Thursday. It was like, whoa, what happened?
Yep.
So anyway. Well, this is the end of the week, so you get your little rest and relaxation.
Yes.
So today we're going to start off with, we've been saying we're going to do this, so we're going to do it today. So as you guys know, we are not just a video or a vlog cast. Mm-hmm. We also are just a podcast, right? And you can find the Marriage Matters podcast on Apple Podcasts, on Google Play, on Spotify, on Anchor, on a lot of different digital outlets. Those are kind of the major ones. But we always encourage you guys to leave us reviews. So today we want to highlight one of our reviews on Apple Podcasts. Yes. And this comes from our good friend. So I don't know. Well, he's being honest. He's an honest guy, one of our friends. Darius Charles. Shout out to Darius and Monique Charles. They've been on the podcast before, so we may have them back here pretty soon. And speaking of couples, if there's some couples that you guys would like to see us have on the podcast, can I say that? We're always looking for other couples to bring on just to share their story and advice or what have you. So if you know anyone that you think would be a good fit for Marriage Matters podcast, let us know. And we'd love to have them on the show. Okay?
Or maybe you and your spouse are a good fit.
There you go.
Reach out.
There you go.
Never know.
So anyway, our good friend Darius Charles, he writes, he gave us 5 stars. Thank you for the 5 stars. He says, I love every single episode that Glenn and Tanya release. These two expound every marital topic with some much class, yet extremely relatable. With so much class, yet extremely relatable. Keep it up, guys. We had this couple speak at our marriage conference, and they have been the top couple every year since. Wow. Okay.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks, Darius.
Thank you so much, Darius.
And we also they've been planning to do that conference again, but it's called the Stretch Conference. I'm not sure when they're going to be doing it again, but it was very fun presenting at that conference.
Absolutely, had a blast.
So that's our review of the week. So if you would like to be highlighted as a review of the week, let us go to Apple and leave a review, and we'll read it. Okay. So the next thing we want to do, every week we've been trying to have a little fun, and using one of the tools that we love to use in our marriage with other couples.
Not in our marriage with other couples. We use it in our marriage and share it with other couples.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah. It's the Anatomy of Marriage app.
Yes.
And in that app, there's some questions. Because a lot of times, you want to have a conversation, but sometimes you just don't know what to talk about. And it's easier just to sit there and just be.
Right.
Which there's nothing wrong with that either. But if you want to start a conversation, the Anatomy of Marriage has this thing called Conversation Starters. So we've been doing one of those every week. Shout out to the Anatomy of Marriage with Seth and Melinda. No, Melanie. It's Melanie.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Melanie. But it's the Studleys. I would just say that.
Yeah.
So
the Studleys.
So shout out to the Studleys. They have also have a podcast called The Anatomy of Marriage. So we encourage you to check that out as well. So let's get into the question for today.
All right. This week's question is from the Just for Fun.
Okay.
Are you afraid of any places in the world?
Am I afraid of any places in the world. If I'm being honest, right now, it's like going to any places, or it just says
says any places in the world.
Yeah, Haiti right now.
Yeah, it's rough.
I wouldn't, I'm not saying I wouldn't go, but I would definitely have to be led of the Lord.
Yeah.
To go. As a matter of fact, right now there's 17 people being held hostage. One of them is actually some missionaries, and we used to do missionary work with Pastor Norman and Dr. Debbie, so we've been down that road, and we know that maybe I'll share some of those stories. But Pastor Norman and Dr. Debbie had me in some pretty sketchy places before. I'll share that with you. Shout out to Norman and Debbie Thomas. That had me in some sketchy places before. But anyway, we want to keep those 17 hostages and that family lifted up. Anyway, absolutely. So I guess maybe for me, Haiti now.
Yeah.
Right now would be a place that I would be.
Okay, so you're going to ask me a different question. Yeah, I'm going to ask you a different question.
So, did you have a nickname growing up? And what was it, and why did people call you that?
So, if any of my family ever watches this and I don't tell the truth, then they're going to put me on blast on Facebook. So my nickname growing up was Scooter.
Scooter?
Yes. And my aunt started calling me Scooter because as a baby, most babies start off by crawling. I didn't start crawling. I actually started scooting backwards. And so they called me Scooter. Some of them, until I was in my 20s, called me Scooter.
Does anyone still call you Scooter when you go home?
No, I have not had anyone call me Scooter.
I think I may have heard Aunt Dolly call you Scooter maybe once or twice.
She never really called me that.
Or maybe just jokingly.
Maybe she did jokingly. Maybe my cousin Mary, she may have called me that. Maybe you heard her call me that.
Okay.
Yeah. But, Scooter. That was it.
Right, that's cool. Cool.
And you know what? Bailey scooted too when she was a baby.
Yeah,
remember
she
that?
sure did.
She started off scooting. So we didn't call her Scooter though. We didn't do that to her.
No. Cool deal. Well, I have a nickname just to share. My nickname I still get called my nickname was Pop. Is Poppy, and so I still get called that today. And when I go home, or it was just when people see me who knew me growing up. So, growing up. So anyway,
Papa's endearing. Scooter is not.
Scooter can be endearing. Well, I'm gonna start calling you Scooter.
No, please don't.
Okay.
I don't look like a scooter.
No. Okay. I tell you what, before we keep going, people always talk about like nicknames, or I don't know why we call them pet names, for their spouse. And we really don't have that. I mean, we call each other bae.
Call each other bae, honey. I call you husband.
Yeah, you do call me husband. And here's another one. Whenever I've heard people say, your spouse, if your spouse's name in your phone is their government name, that there's something wrong with that. Like you should be like Bay or
why?
I don't know. I've heard people say that because I have you as Tanya Coleman in my phone.
I have you as Lynn Coleman.
Yeah, so I don't see nothing wrong with that. I know
you are my husband. I don't need all that.
Yeah. So anyway, all right.
I don't know. That's strange. I don't know.
Let's get into
Maybe we'll check with the Gottmans on that and see what Dr. Gottman has to say about that.
So let's get into today's session. Today we're talking about stress management.
Ooh, child. Stress management,
yeah. And, I think that with everything that's going on in the world, I think especially, that's one of the things I think came out of this pandemic. Stress can be it could be a odd thing in that a lot of times you don't really feel it until you put in certain situations. And I think that through the pandemic, and now maybe not so much so, but I know for sure in 2020, because, you had two people,
Oh, now so much so.
Okay, well, still
much so.
When you are, before, when we were both working outside of the house, and I would go and I would work and I had like a 30-minute drive home. You were working outside of the house, maybe about a 30-minute drive home. So it's like we had that time we were away from each other and we were not always together. And even when we would come back together, we had like this buffer time to just kind of listen to a podcast or listen to music or just be in the car silent to try to get some of that out, just release some of that, release that stress. Yeah. So that when we got home, it wasn't maybe as bad or it was more manageable. But when you're with somebody, just constantly, eventually that's going to come to the surface. So I think that we've seen a lot more of that and a lot more has came to the surface as a result of these last a year and a half, 2 years,
18 months
or whatever,
20 months,
especially for us here in Southwest Louisiana, the pandemic, and we had 2 hurricanes. We had a flood,
a freeze,
whatever order that came in. And then on top of, people trying to get homes repaired, maybe you've got relatives living with you that normally wouldn't be there. A new dog. It was very stressful. So what I'm saying is if you don't know how to manage that, or if you've not taught how to manage stress and how to deal with your stress, and if you keep just pushing the stress down and not dealing with it properly, that can be very harmful, not only to you, but harmful to your relationship.
Absolutely. And, I know that everything that happened in 2020, there were so many things happening in 2020. It was just a manifestation, almost like a pulling back of the curtain on a lot of issues that I feel like we have been avoiding addressing, and so a lot of that it kind of bubbled to the top. You heard a lot in homes with people getting divorced because of the reasons that you just described. But I feel like for 2021, it's almost like a continuation of the same year. And a lot of people are now experiencing different kinds of stressors because the world has opened up again. And you've been shut away for so long, and now you're trying to maneuver back into what you did before, and that's causing stress. So it's so many things that add to what you're describing, and I feel like in relationships and marriages, we have to there's several things that we need to do. One is have conversations, talk about it, be honest, be open about it. Look for people that can help you outside of your marriage. Go to marriage counseling, even if things seem to be cool and, we just usually handle it. No, go talk to someone about those feelings and those agitations, those frustrations that some of you never even experienced before with your spouse. Now, all of a sudden, it's just like everything they do, if they wipe the forehead, you just like, oh my God, I can't stop wiping your forehead, so it's just like we have to pay attention and no longer just kind of push things under the rug and cover them up or choose not to deal with them. We've been through enough of community, what we call community trauma, that we have got to learn some lessons from these experiences. And so those lessons come with doing some extra things and some extra work that we've never done before to allow us to heal from these last 18, almost 2 years, really, of what we've experienced and the things that have come up because of what we've experienced, the things that were kind of pushed to the surface because of what we experienced.
Yeah. So I know for me, and I'm glad that I now, and I don't know, it's funny, before this, I'm not sure how often I would do this, but I know because I've done a lot of work on being aware, and being present, and learning to slow down and really process what I'm feeling. I've become aware of I start to notice things that I do when I am when I'm stressed or when I'm not properly managing my stress. And so I know for me, one of the things, and we're talking about how stress affects relationships. For me, whenever I get stressed, I know that I tend to pull away. And I'm typically a very affectionate person. One of my top 2 love languages is touch. Physical touch. But I know that when I am stressed, I tend not to do that. I'm very withdrawn. I really, I alienate myself. And again, it's like I'm already very to myself and introverted, but when I get stressed, it's like it goes to another level,
right?
So
yeah, and that's difficult, for me, because I like to engage and I like to talk. Even when I am stressed, I want to talk about why I'm stressed. I want to talk about why I'm frustrated, why my feelings are hurt. I want to talk about all those things. And then so when you typically will alienate, that causes more stress for me, and I've learned to kind of try to bring it to your attention, but you don't always respond immediately to me trying to pull you in. You know what I mean? Sometimes it takes a little longer.
So how are some of the ways you try to pull me in so I can be aware of those ways?
Well, I'll ask, what's going on? Are you okay? Do you need to talk? Is there anything that I can do to help? Just showing you more affection, hugs and kisses and things like that. And I know when you don't respond how you usually respond, then you have a lot of things that you're processing in your mind. I know when you walk past me and you don't touch me, you got some things going on in your mind.
Yeah.
That because that's who you are,
And the other thing, and I get, people, and this one not so much for me, but I know that I've heard people say, and that they get very distracted, where, things will be going on in the house, whether with your kids or whether your spouse, and you're like, well, how did I miss that? Well, that's one thing that happens when you're stressed. And you're not managing that stress properly, you tend to, it's almost like you get these blinders on and sometimes you get really focused on the stressor,
right? And
you miss out on everything else that's going around, and you overlook everything else that's going on around you. And the other thing I think that is like stress is almost a magnifier, but it's like it magnifies in the negative. So a lot of times stress will bring out the worst traits, unfortunately. So that's another reason why it's so important that we learn how to manage stress, because a lot of times it brings out the worst in us. We just finished watching this series called Made. Really good,
Yeah,
very triggering, very triggering series.
Yeah.
But one of the things I don't even know if they were married, but
I don't think they were married. I think they just lived together.
Okay, so the boyfriend, when he got stressed, really, really stressed, it would cause him to drink.
He overdrank, yeah.
And then whenever he would drink, he would become very emotionally abusive.
I got it. You want me to do it?
Yeah. He would become very emotionally abusive. And, so it was just this ripple effect. And so, if you get angry, if you deal a lot with anger or anger issues or whatever, a lot of times when you get stressed, that is magnified, multiple times over. And the thing is, just like in that episode, this is really such a good episode. I think that's a good episode for just people to watch, because it just brought a lot of stuff to the surface for me. Anyway.
In May?
Yeah.
Okay. Which one?
But I was just saying, whenever he would get stressed and he would drink and he would get emotionally abusive and all these things, it caused the girlfriend to really withdraw and to just really take herself out, so much so there's that one scene, spoiler alert, there's this one scene where she's like laying on the couch, but like it showed her in this scene where she was like in this
She was disappeared into
the sofa, and like it was like
she went into this dark hole.
Yeah, hole in the bottom of a tree or something. But she was just like so removed, and like it was so great because she was down in this hole, but you could hear like in the distance him talking. And it was like she was just so withdrawn. But that's a lot of times what happens in our relationships is when we don't manage our stress, then it brings out the worst in us, and it causes us to alienate those closest to us. And the people who are really designed to help us maybe work through some of that are the people that we are called to love the most, and it pushes them away more.
Right. Yeah.
I've been talking a lot, so I'm gonna let you talk.
No, why do you do that?
Because I do. I don't want to monopolize. No,
that you were making a point. So yeah, I think that is a very, and the deal is that she had some suppressed memories about her childhood, and all of those things kind of come out. And that's a lot of what we talk about here on Marriage Matters is healing old wounds. Because for me, watching that series, it just rings very true to, she was attracted to this person who was very much, like her father.
Yeah, you're right.
And she found herself living in a situation that she had lived in as a child that she hated and couldn't figure out how to get out of that situation. Yeah. But that goes back to the healing old wounds, which we talk about, which are a lot of times the reasons why we behave or respond when we are stressed the way that we do, because of our history and things that we have not healed. And so like for you, the talking piece is just like, instead of talking about the things that were bothering, you or, stresses in the home, or just talking about real things that needed to be talked about, that kind of didn't happen. And so habitually you tend to not talk about those things. Yeah. You know what I mean? In the moment. You do later. Yeah. And it goes back to this too. I was talking to another guy a couple of days ago, and I was just talking to him about how we're not taught how to deal with those things. Right. I mean, right.
We don't see, it's either we don't talk about it, or we saw people deal with it like this guy.
In a very negative way.
Negative way.
Right.
Right. But we've never really would talk. And that's why, what you were saying earlier, it's so important to have you got to have somebody to talk to. There's so many things you could do. You could reach out. Hey, look, we would love to, we just started, speaking, I'll come back to that, but, we just started, opened the kitchen table counseling and coaching here in Lake Charles. And, that's an avenue for you to come,
right,
to just talk to somebody about what you're dealing with.
Right.
But there's so many other avenues. You got online online stuff like BetterHelp. What's the other one? Talkspace. There's so many things that you can do to find someone. There's so many hotlines. And so, reach out to someone, because the tendency is, we want to wait until it's like, when you've gotten the DUI, then you want to get help, or, when your wife finally gets sick and tired of it and she leaves, then you want to get help. Right. And I'm not saying it's too late at that point, but I'm saying
you should have been doing that work
it's like
before then.
Notice, be aware. And that's, again, that's one thing I had to learn, was to be aware of, hey, okay, something's not right. I'm not feeling right. I'm not feeling the way I'm normally feeling.
I'm
not feeling like myself. And the thing is, it's like the other side of this is when a lot of times each person in the relationship is so stressed and trying to deal with their own, we can't recognize when the other person.
Right.
So we can't help. And then it's like the parents are stressed and we're trying to deal with our own thing. And so now the kids, you look at the kids and the kids are kind of going through the same thing and they're struggling. And so it's like everybody's struggling. So it's like, mental health is a real thing. And I think it's becoming more of a topic now, and it's not as so much of a stigma type thing, yeah. Right? And I mean, I was listening to an interview with Simone Biles the other day, and with the whole thing that happened with her in the Olympics, and you're just like, and people may look at that and say, "Oh man, she's weak" or whatever. But people don't realize that the pressure that she was under, and then other thing people forget about is the whole sexual abuse thing that her and so many other those gymnasts were going through, and that trial was going on, and so it was just so much, and it's like, your body can only take so much. And your mind can only take so much of that. So kudos to her for recognizing that and saying, you know what, guys, I need to just step away and take a break. And even that, we're taught that that's so it's wrong.
Right.
We to step away and just take a break from it all.
Right. We live in a very much, the culture may say grind, that, we live in a grind. Other people may say, you got to step out in faith and believe and just go and just do. Well, sometimes you need to rest and you need to take care of yourself. And that's a great example. Simone's story is a great example of what, I was referring to. Here's a young woman that has some trauma history, even before the sexual abuse. The way she grew up, her mom was an addict. She was adopted by relatives and all of these different things. And so she had some trauma in her childhood. She has this traumatic experience while being an Olympic gymnast. And they begin to deal with that and, go through all that. Then 2020 happens. Everyone's shut down. We're secluded, isolated, all of those things. For some of us, it was wonderful. For other people, it's, it really wasn't. But now we try to get back to a new normal and begin to do things like we used to do. And our bodies and our minds have to adjust to coming out in the world, being open again. And all of the things for a full year, a little bit over a year, that began to come up for you in that seclusion, in that isolation. All of those things have now begun to come to the surface, and you're trying to enter into a new normal, and your body and your mind is like, hold on, I'm not ready. And I feel like that's kind of what happened with Simone, that it was just like, okay, it's time to get back to what we're used to doing. This is what I'm great at doing. And her body and her mind were like, wait. And she's only one story.
Yeah.
And there are plenty of people, normal people like the rest of us, who are having those similar experiences. And so when you're trying to be in a marriage with another person in a relationship, run your family and get your kids back on track, we're all experiencing those stresses. You have kids who've been at home, they've been isolated, and now we're sending them back to school, and some of these kids are already struggling with social anxiety, and now they've been isolated all this time. And now it's just like, okay, go back to school, get back to normal, and we don't realize that sometimes you can't just jump back into 11 feet of water.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just need to sit on the side of the pool and splash your feet.
Yeah.
You can't just jump into stuff. You know what I mean? You got to ease your way back into it.
So it's like, it's stress, and I'll say this, it's you're gonna come in, it's gonna happen. It's just the nature of living. But it's about how you manage it, because like I said earlier, it not only will it affect your body, it also negatively affects your marriage. So we just want to give you a couple of things that maybe you can do before we end this podcast on how to deal with your own stress. So first thing is understand your stress. Yeah. So identify what's making you stress can help you figure out the best ways to deal with it. So sometimes just identifying the thing that's stressing you out. Because sometimes you feel it and you really don't know where it's coming from.
Right.
So just, again, being aware and paying attention to, what stress. Sometimes it's a person. It's like when I get around that one person, where's the stress coming from? So, and it's like a lot of times we look at the results of it, like you had said earlier, when we're stressed, how everything is just, it's like, don't chew. Why are you chewing so loud? It's like, well,
Right.
I'm chewing the way I normally chew.
Right,
It's just, so it's not that. You got to figure out what's the thing that's causing you to be stressed. You had something?
I was going to share it whenever. It's something, actually a post that I shared the other day.
Okay.
Yeah.
You want to share it now? Or you want to?
Whenever you get to where I can towards a good.
Okay.
Good time.
So I'll just go through these real quick and then you can share it.
Mm-hmm.
So increase your positive emotions. So having more joy, gratitude, amusement, contentment, and love in your life will combat the negative effects of stress. So just having, increase your positive emotions. So identifying those things that bring joy, that bring, or just being, how many times are we just grateful? Gratefulness, gratitude.
Yes.
And you may think, well, I don't have anything to be grateful for. Well, okay.
You're breathing.
I'm thankful for my spouse. I'm thankful for my house. I'm thankful for my car. I'm thankful for the clothes that I have on. I'm thankful for, just little things, my sofa. I'm thankful for my toothbrush. I'm thankful because the truth of the matter is there's people who don't even have those things.
Yes.
So just, maybe I would encourage you. We did this exercise. Was it in? I think it was. I got my growth challenge shirt on today.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was one of the growth challenge exercises. We had to do like 50 things we were grateful for, and you think about that, and you're like, "Wow, 50
That's
things."
A lot.
But again, when you just start when you start listing those things, you realize how grateful you can be in your life.
Right.
And
gratitude changes
right.
everything.
So just increasing your positive emotions. Find calming activities. What are some things that you can do to just kind of bring you some zen? What are those things? Calming emotions, going for a walk, going out into nature, finding a quiet place, maybe in nature, going out to the lake, sitting on your sofa, whatever it is, what brings those calm things? What are those calming activities for you? The fourth one is taking care of yourself. You mentioned this earlier. I know like you, every Thursday you say, this is my bubble bath night. So
run the bubble bath.
Take care of yourself.
Turn on the candles.
And you've got to do this, especially, I'll always get on moms because you always think it's like, I got to do. But it's like I always talk about on the airplane, they said you have to put your oxygen mask on first. Because if you run out of oxygen, if you run out of steam, that's going to be way more harmful. So you've got to take care of yourself. So same thing with the dads. I know, it's like you got to make ends meet or whatever. You got to go out and be the breadwinner. You got to go out and slay the dragon. You got to do that, but you also have to make sure that you're taking care of yourself. Doing things that like things I mentioned earlier, producing positive emotions and calming activities. Then the other thing is to reappraise and reframe your stressor. So stressful experiences aren't necessarily bad. What's bad is when you don't feel like you have the resources to deal with them. So we talked about that earlier, getting help. A lot of companies now have the what is it called? The EAPs.
Yes.
EAP programs. And a lot of times you may have 6 to 8 sessions for free. So you can go and talk to a counselor just for free. And sometimes I'm telling you guys, and I tell some of my life coaching clients this, and I'm pretty sure you tell some of your counseling clients this, just going in and talking, and sometimes it's not one particular thing, just talking, just getting it all out. You'll be surprised how much relief and release that'll bring into your life.
Absolutely. I have clients, they'll say that, especially the first time, it's like, okay, so what am I supposed to say? How does this work?
Yeah.
Like, what do you want to say?
What do you want to talk about?
What do you want to talk about? And they just start to go. And at the end, it's just like, oh my God, I feel so much better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I haven't had a safe space where someone's going to listen to me and not judge me to just say it.
Or I've never made the time to say it.
Right.
because I'm so busy going and going and doing and doing and doing. And even like in a relationship, it's like I'm trying to make sure that she's okay and I'm not making, so you never get a time to really just express your true feelings. And I found that talking to someone, a life coach or a counselor, helps you to learn how to express those things in a way that the other person can maybe receive them instead of screaming them at the other person. Right. So why don't you go ahead and share what you were going to share?
Good. I actually like what you have up here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So you have how to deal with your partner's stress. Did you want to talk about that?
Yeah. So that those five I just shared were dealing with how you deal with your stress. But then how do you deal with when, what do you do when your partner is stressed? So you want to read those?
Sure. Talk to your partner, learn about how they react when stressed, and ask them what you can do to support them effectively during a stressful time. So it's just, being able to recognize when they're stressed, asking them, hey, how you feeling? I noticed you have a lot going on. You seem like you have a lot going on. How can I help? Is there anything that I can do? And
I'll say this also to add to this on this part, asking the partner can be a stressful thing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, you don't want to, if you don't want to just pester them about it. What's wrong? If you just tell me what's wrong, just please tell me what's wrong. What's wrong?
But that's typically when you think it's about you.
Okay. Well, that may be true. But my point is, that's not going to make it better.
No, it's not going to make it better. Whether it's about you or not, that's not going to make it better. But I'm saying that's how people act when they're afraid that they've done or said something.
Right. And sometimes it may not be about you.
Exactly. Exactly.
So what is something that, because I know I'm like this. So maybe you could give them some insight. So when you're noticing that I'm doing my stressful dance, and for me, if you keep asking me, that's going to tick me off. What do you do to give me or help me to support me in that time?
I'll just say something like, hey, just when you're ready to talk, I'm ready to listen.
Okay.
Or I'm here. And I give you your space.
Okay.
Now the time frame in which it takes you to come to talk has changed over the years, right? One, I used to not ask you that question. I used to avoid it because I thought it was about me, right? And then we grew to, no, we do talk about things and we need to address these things. And so I ask you, and sometimes the nothing, I'm fine, I'm good, I'm okay, may go on for a couple of weeks, whereas now it may be just a few days, So it just really depends on both individuals and where you are in the relationship. But I typically find that when I just let you know that I'm aware and that I care and that I'm here, that helps you. And eventually you'll say, hey, so this is what's been going on. And I'm sorry that I've been, withdrawn or what have you. And, we'll just kind of talk through it.
Yeah. I'll add something to that also. The giving of space, that's good, but it's not if you're going to ignore me, I'm going to ignore you.
Right. Oh, no, it's not that at all.
It's not that, but I'm just saying I want to make that aware.
Right.
It's a supportive,
right.
I'm here when you need me type
Exactly.
of thing. Yeah.
Exactly.
So I just wanted to throw that in there.
Is that helpful for you when I do that?
Yeah.
I think that's the bigger question.
Yeah. And I think that, reaffirming that, so if you know that my love language is physical touch and I'm not engaging in that, then that's when Tanya needs to touch because that kind of helps pull me, you know what I'm saying? So that's just one thing I know I could say that helps.
So, yeah. Support each other, figuring out what your spouse needs for support. What does support look like for them in that situation? It may not always be the same, so how do you find that out? You ask, you have to have conversations.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that, I don't know if you was about to say this.
No, go ahead.
Okay. But we're going through actually another class with Marriedpreneur.
Yeah. OL and Sway.
OL and Sway. Yeah. And they shout out to Marriedpreneur. You can find them on Instagram. I think it's, what is it?
It's Marriedpreneur Life, I think. Yeah.
Marriedpreneur Life. But talking about stressful is starting a business with your spouse.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Tanya and I, we both have done our own things, but this, I think, is the first time where we really like for real doing a business together. And that can be stressful because you both, I have the way I would do it.
You have your way, I have my way.
And it's like trying to make that. So this class, the Marriedpreneur, they help couples through this process, has been very helpful. Again, we're going to someone else and who've done this before to say, hey, we're starting a business together and we need help to help us learn how to do this, how to bring these visions together. And but one of the questions that they give, we have to do every day is how can I support you today?
Right.
What can I do to support you?
Look like today? Yeah. And that can range from anything like, hey, can you respond to this email? Can you run and check the mailbox, to I just need you to pray for me today. I got this going on today, and whatever. So it can look like a variety of different things. Yeah.
I need you to encourage me today or whatever.
Yes. Number 3, make time for positive moments, and creating those positive moments is really important. Even when life is stressful and it's hard and it's difficult, you're going through a difficult season, you should still make time for positive moments, to spend time together doing nothing or doing something, laughing, holding one another's hands, getting outside, in the sun together, having some family time, do something that creates positive moments.
Yeah, those are so important. I can't remember the number, but I remember I was in this seminar, and it was a leadership seminar, but they were saying it takes, I think it's like 7 to 1, or maybe it was 5 to 1. But it's like it takes like 5 to 7. I'll just say it like that. Positive remarks or positive interactions to erase one negative.
That's right. It's absolutely right.
And so, man, that was like so powerful. And I think it works in the opposite way. We tend to remember the bad more than we remember the good. So it's very important that we create as many of those positive moments that we can, because the tendency is you're going to remember more of the bad than you do the good.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
Yeah.
Help your partner take care of themselves. And so if you notice that your partner is stressed, then maybe they're not eating properly, maybe they're not sleeping, bringing those things to their attention, helping where you can. If they're not eating properly, or they're not eating all day and they're just drinking coffees, just like go bring them a bottle of water, make them a smoothie, and just say, hey, I got something for you,
And make, like you talking about the bath thing, but make sure that they, like, if especially when you have like small kids, make sure that, okay, I'm going to make sure the kids I'm going to feed tonight. I'm going to feed the kids tonight. I'm going to put them to bed, whatever. So you have that time for yourself, or, let them go. One of the things that, you guys, you have your girl group. So you guys will go and do a girls' night out. Well, it's really kind of hard now because we have older kids, but my point is, sometimes you have to help your partner make that time for them. So you have to take some stuff off of them, maybe to give them that time to do that. Or maybe run the water for them. Say, I ran you a bath tonight, or whatever that is.
Right.
And that, to me, that's helping your partner take care of themselves.
Right. And I'll say this.
Buying them a gift certificate to a spa.
Yeah. Oh, glory. Yes. Did you see that response?
I did.
I need one of those.
I did.
For especially husband and wives, and you're raising, you have kids, and kids of all ages are needy. When they get to a certain age, they're not so much hands-on, but they do need your presence, right? And a lot of times, a lot of that responsibility is left on mom. And mom she's doing that. She's managing the kids, caretaking for the kids, nurturing the kids. She's also taking care of what she takes care of in the home: groceries, laundry, cooking. And then most of our moms today also work full time. Mm-hmm. And so if you are the husband, the father, you too can jump in and help with some of those tasks around the house, coming home and sitting down in your chair and just eating your dinner that she slaved over does not help. That's not supportive. I can't say it nicely. It's just, it doesn't help, guys. Yeah. And so figuring out, what are you capable of? What can you do? If you don't cook, it's okay. Guess what? The laundry, that's a great way to show support, right? Making sure that those kids are fed and they get in a bath and they get in bed on time. That's a great way to support. I remember when our kids were younger, like I would start my day when they were in school, like getting up at like 5:30 in the morning. And many times I was not going to bed till like midnight because there's always something to be done, and it's exhausting. And so that could be very stressful. That could be why she's not being so nice to you. Yeah. Like she needs some help.
and it's like, so the tendency is to say, well, I'm out at work all day, or, especially if the wife's at home all day. Well, even being at home is not just being at home.
No, I guarantee you she's not sitting around eating bonbons.
So help your partner take care of themselves. So number 5, let's go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. You're good.
If your current situation if your current situation isn't working, work together to find creative solutions. So have a brainstorming session to see if you can come up with ways to fix the situation, to alleviate some of your stress, or find ways to effectively prevent it from hurting your relationship. And so finding those ways, we have to do that as a team. We both have to be engaged with the brainstorming process and making sure that we both follow through with what we discuss in that brainstorming process.
Because we're in it together. We're in it together, right?
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, hopefully you heard something today that's going to be helpful. Look, manage your stress. Don't let your stress manage you. Amen. So as always, we want you guys to follow us on Facebook. If you're not already, Facebook, Marriage Matters 0526. Same on Instagram, Marriage Matters 0526. Like, subscribe, share, all those things. On YouTube, you can subscribe to us on YouTube at Marriage Matters. And again, these podcasts are available on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Anchor, pretty much anywhere you find podcasts, we're there.
We are there.
Listen, leave us a review, take us with you at work. You can listen to us, while you're at work or driving in the car or exercising or whatever. We just so appreciate all the support. So
absolutely.
That's all we have for you today. So this is Glenn and Tanya reminding you that
your marriage matters.
We'll see you next week.
Bye.